Namaste, everyone, and happy Easter. Thank you for joining us this morning. We don't do the sunrise service here. None of us have the, I don't know, the discipline to get up that early and and get there. So, thank you for being here. I hope it's as beautiful where you are as it is here for us. And welcome. So today, Frank is going to be talking about Easter Sunday and leading us through this metaphysical way of looking at Easter, which is different than, the way we were raised. So we're looking forward to that, forward to the words that he has to share with us this morning. And that's the wonderful thing about New Thought. You can take whatever it was that you experienced as a child, maybe in your church of origin, that maybe worked for you or didn't work for you, and look at it in a new way. And it allows you to open up your mind, open up your heart, and experience it in a brand new way. And so we're looking forward to that this morning. And we know that everyone, everyone in the nation here is celebrating this day. This New Thought teaching that we are all about is, for us, it is in the lineage of Dr. Ernest Holmes. And when this teaching was first introduced, at the time, it was early in the 20th century, Christianity was the main religion in the United States at that time. And so a lot of the New Thought teachings arise from that, and a lot of the language comes from that. But we have evolved. This is an evolving spirituality, and we have evolved, taking the best of Christianity and then moving it out and evolving it so that we can see it in a new way. So this community is all about evolution. It's all about spiritual awakening. It's all about discovering new and exciting things about who and what we are. And isn't it just such a wonderful gift to discover that we are connected, we are part of the entire universe. It's such a mind expanding concept and freeing in so many ways. We follow these basic spiritual teachings that flow and run through all spiritual traditions. So you'll hear very many familiar things and maybe some new things as well as you come and join us on our Sunday gatherings. We also offer classes, we offer workshops, we offer meditations. We believe in the power of prayer. And so we have many opportunities for people who have things going on in their lives where they need support, where people will pray for them, joyfully pray for them, or you can come and have a counseling session, a spiritual counseling session to help work on maybe some deeper things that are going on for you in life. We have beautiful music. We have so many ways for all of us as a community, as like-minded people, to experience in a deep and profound way our connection with that one power and presence that is all around us and that dwells deep within us. And so whatever it is that brought you here this morning on this Easter Sunday, and wherever your day takes you, for this perfect moment in time, welcome home. We've been waiting for you. I'd like to share a few words from Dr. Holmes this morning to set us on our way. And he says this: when we know that there is but one spirit in the entire universe, we shall know that there is but one source of all forms. We shall know that every form is some manifestation of this source. When we have found that this source is also centered in us, we will know that we can come directly to it and discerning that its spiritual nature is love and truth and beauty, we will make known our requests with thanksgiving, with complete mental abandonment. And so let's move into that place of complete mental abandonment. If you're ready, just allow your eyes to close if you haven't done so already, if you're comfortable. And take a couple of deep cleansing breaths. You can do this by breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth with a sigh. And breathe in and breathe out. And feel yourself relax. I love this idea of complete mental abandonment. There's nothing for us to think about. There's nothing for us to worry about. There's nothing for us to do. There's nowhere to go. For we are here, and it is this perfect moment. And our minds are clear. Our hearts are open. And we are ready. And so I know that the Spirit, that God, that presence that dwells within each and every one of us is moving and rising even now, stirring our hearts with love, filling our bodies with such contentment, with such peace. And we know that this day will unfold in absolute magnificence, for this is a day of days. It is a special, beautiful day where our entire country is moving into this energy of love and peace and light and joy. And so knowing that this talk that Frank will be sharing with us this morning is exactly what we need to hear to lift our spirits, to deepen our connection with the divine. I give my thanks. I know that the music is perfect as it always is, filling us with those vibrations of the Most High, allowing us to drop right into alignment with that beautiful vibration of the universe. Each and every soul who has come to be with this spiritual community, this gathering this morning, is filled with that anticipation that something wonderful is about to happen, something amazing, a mystery at this moment that is yet to be revealed. And how exciting to know it's coming and it's on its way. And so knowing that everything is in its perfect right place, as each of us are, I just let all of this go, knowing it's all already whole, perfect, and complete. It is already moving in completion. I let it be. And I simply say, and so it is. Amen.
In this infinite universe in which I exist, I am perfect and whole and complete. And the truths of my being in the way I exist, I am perfect and whole and complete. All that I need for is the way I exist. I am perfect and whole, complete. 'Cause I'm in the right time, in the right place, doing the right things. This is God's grace. I'm in the right time, at the right place, for the world is well with me. In this infinite universe in which I exist, all is perfect and whole and complete. And the truth of my being is the way I exist. I am perfect and whole and complete. You are perfect and whole and complete. We are perfect and whole and
Good morning, all. Happy Easter. As you can see, I have a little companion this morning. You know, I remember one year when I was in grade school. Instead of staying home and going to church on Sunday the way we usually did, my cousin Kathy and I went to her other grandparents' home. It was a farm out in the country in a little tiny town called Peatone, Illinois. And on Easter morning, Kathy and I decided to pull a prank on her grandpa. We snuck out into the hen house and we replaced all the fresh eggs with the colored Easter eggs. And what started out as a prank almost became a catastrophe because the rooster went in the hen house, took one look at those colored eggs, came back out and attacked the peacock. You know, Easter, I tell the joke because Easter to me, I never understood why people said Happy Easter on Easter. Easter week was such a horrendous experience. It was so horrible that I couldn't understand why people could be happy. But it's one of the two most important holy days in Christianity, Easter and Christmas. It's too bad that so many of us in New Thought have this knee-jerk denial, this knee-jerk rejection of Easter and Christmas, especially Easter, because it's so important, not only in Christianity, but also in New Thought. To our traditional brothers and sisters in the Christian tradition, it's a story of the miraculous birth and death and resurrection, crucifixion and resurrection of the only begotten Son of God. All of us, whether we were raised in Christianity or not, or some other spiritual tradition, whatever, we're familiar with this, with something of this belief. For me, Jesus was the original dude. He was a radical rabbi. He was a spiritual rebel. He was a healer. He was a teacher. And he became something more. Those of you that know me very well know that I'm a huge fan of Jesus Christ Superstar. And that's because Jesus Christ Superstar portrays Jesus as a human being with all the emotions, passions, fear, and anger any person would have, combined with that something more. I've seen it more times than I can even count. For those of us in New Thought, though, it's not the man Jesus that is something that's so important, but it's this something more that we turn our attention to for our understanding of Easter. In New Thought, for example, that understanding is not about Jesus, the great example, the way shower, but it's about the spiritual being, the Christ within him. Christ is a Greek word. It means the anointed one. It's the same meaning that it has in the Aramaic language that Jesus spoke, and in Hebrew, Messiah. The Christ is the God within us that we talk about. Jesus so manifested his God within that he became the Christ, just like Gautama became the Buddha when he manifested his enlightenment. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, said this of Jesus. Jesus, the man, became the Christ, the idea of God's sonship. Not the only begotten Son of God, but the Son begotten of the only God. Jesus embodied the Christ. Jesus increasingly became the Christ as his mentality increasingly perceived the relationship of the human Jesus to the Christ principle, which is inherent in all people. Christianity deals with it differently, of course. But Christianity calls the first 4 books of their New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the Gospels, which comes from a Middle English word, Godspell, which means good news. And these books are considered a synopsis of Jesus' life and teachings, and each presents Jesus' Christ experience in a different way. Mark, the oldest one, begins with Jesus being baptized by John the Baptist. And in the moment that he is baptized, he is awakened. And it shows that to us in the story, because from Jesus' perception, a dove comes down from heaven and says, "This is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased." So it happened to him as an adult in the book of Mark. In the books of Matthew and Luke, Jesus becomes the Christ at the moment of conception. Matthew starts out with an announcement to Joseph, who is to be Jesus' father. And Joseph knows that Mary is already pregnant and that it's not his kid, because they haven't fooled around yet. And so he says to Joseph, "Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take to you Mary, your wife." Excuse me, I have a cat trying to eat my cough drops. "Do not be afraid to take to you Mary, your wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit." And then Luke begins with a similar announcement to Mary. "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the highest will overshadow you. Therefore, that Holy One who is to be born will be called the Son of God." So in both of these, we can see that it is at the moment of conception that Jesus becomes the Christ, not when he is baptized as he was as an adult, as it happened in John. And finally in Mark. And finally in John, Jesus is seen as being the Christ, the Son of God, from the beginning of creation. And it says in John, "He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and nothing was made. And without him, nothing was made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the life of men." But if we reverse the order of those of those messages and return them to the order they came in the Christian calendar, we find a wonderful metaphysical description of our relationship to the Christ. within us. If we paraphrase John and make it personal to each of us, it reads this way: you were in the beginning with God. All things were made through you, and without you, nothing was made that was made. In you is the life, and the life is the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not comprehend it. That darkness is the darkness of our ego minds, our ego consciousness, that part of us that feels separate and apart. And this gives us the wonderful news of the immortality of our souls, the Christ within us. Matthew and Luke share with us the good news that Christ is not something we earn or work for. It's born with us. It is who we are. And John tells us that we have been that way from the beginning of creation. And Mark tells us that the moment we recognize, consciously become aware of our true nature, we enter into our divine sonship and daughtership. And in the story of Easter, we find the master teacher's greatest lesson in the final miracle of his life, the resurrection of the dead. We probably all know the story. Mary Magdalene, sometimes with other women, depending on the gospel you read, goes to the tomb, finds the stone rolled away and the tomb empty. Now, each of us has our own beliefs about what really occurred. And if you find your mind balking this idea of a literal resurrection, you're not alone. It was one of the great arguments of early Christianity. And if you've ever heard about the early Christian heresies, every single one of them was around the idea of what the resurrection really was and what it looked like. Just as each of the Gospels has a different version of what happened, so do we. The fact that each of them is different it's on purpose, and it serves a wonderful metaphysical purpose for each of us. It calls on us to search our hearts, our minds, and ask what we really believe and how much we can really believe. It calls on us to believe that there is a great and a deep metaphysical lesson here, regardless of what we believe about the literal history. The resurrection of the dead. To be raised from the dead. It sounds so far-fetched, and yet death doesn't have to be literal. Why should resurrection? We talk about the death of hopes. We talk about the death of ideas. We talk about the death of relationships. We talk about all kinds of deaths that we don't mean literally. So why should the resurrection be literal? Maybe it wasn't about Jesus at all. Maybe the resurrection was in the experience of his disciples after his crucifixion, that we can find our truth about Easter. Easter invites us to put ourselves in the position of the disciples and find ourselves in them, because they were just people like you and me. Look at what happened to them. Their entire lives have suddenly been turned upside down. Everything they have come to believe has come crashing down around them. Look, for Jews, a person who has been executed by the law for a crime cannot be the Messiah. And here's Jesus. He's been executed by the Romans for a crime. And how are they to continue believing that he's the Messiah? They feel utterly cut off from their Christ. Indeed, for them, the Christ is dead. And inside, so are they. They're just walking around going through the motions of life, of trying to survive in a world that has suddenly become so filled with danger that they feel crushed by the burden of it. Like the disciples, we become so enmeshed in the drama of life that we forget who we are. We can never know what really happened on Easter morning, but this we do know: something happened. Something happened that changed everything for the disciples. In one day, The disciples went from the depths of despair and fear to hope and to triumph, so filled with joy that they had to tell the world about it. Something happened that utterly renewed their faith. The wonderful story of Easter for us is that no matter how bleak our life's appearance might be, no matter how far down the situation appears to have gone, the miracle is right around the corner if only we don't give up. There is that within us that is always greater than any condition. No matter how dire the problems may seem, no matter how far down the road to disaster we may seem to have gone, there's something in us that's greater than the problem. It's the Christ within us, born in us the moment of our conception, in whom God is well pleased. Yet no matter how big a disaster we face in the world of conditions, every single day is an opportunity for resurrection and a renewed faith. And that's the whole point of the Easter week pageant. We become so wrapped up and caught up in the events and pageantry of our drama and our trauma that we forget who we are, and it drives out of our minds any memory of the truth about ourselves. That's our metaphorical Good Friday. There's an old joke that's about a nurse who is taking care of her little nephew who's 6 years old, and her little nephew, whose name is Daniel, falls on playground off the playground equipment, and he bangs his head really badly. He has a huge bump on his head, and the woman is afraid that he might have a concussion. So all night long, she goes into his room to wake him up, to check and make sure that he's okay. So she goes in and she wakes him up, and she gently shake him every hour and say, "What's your name?" And every hour he'd say, "My name is Daniel." And pretty soon he began moaning in protest every time she came into the room. And finally, at about 5 a.m, she walked in the room and she found a piece of paper taped to his forehead that said, "My name is Daniel." See, Daniel, in spite of everything, remembered who he was. And just like Daniel, there's a place in us that always remembers who we are. When the women approached the tomb on Easter morning, they found it open and empty, and the only thing there was a messenger who said, "Why seek you the living among the dead?" Metaphysically, that's our call to stop looking for the answers to life and the condition, and remember who we are, the divine. The resurrection is really the death of the belief that we're separate from God. Easter morning's empty tomb is our call to answer to that which is born in us. Just as the followers of Jesus did. On that morning, whatever may have literally occurred, the tombs of their hearts and souls were opened. The Christ consciousness stepped out in all its divine glory, and they became what they were capable of. No longer were they merely isolated sons and isolated human beings, but the sons and daughters of the divine who had been sent forth on a special mission. And just like the disciples, we may not understand it at first at all. Like Peter, we may keep trying to go back to our old ways and denying the new truth. Like Thomas, we may find ourselves doubting that this change could really be possible. Like Mary, we may find ourselves running away. We may find ourselves filled with self-loathing and guilt, like Judas. Before the events of Good Friday, James, called the brother of Jesus, was just one of the apostles, just one of the disciples, not even able to stay awake with Jesus on Thursday night. After Good Friday, he's not even mentioned. And yet after Jesus is gone from the picture altogether, after the Gospels end and the Acts of the Apostles begin, James is recognized as James the just, the righteous teacher, And he's the leader of all the disciples. And it's because what was awakened in him was a faith so profound, the rest of the disciples turned to him. And that's the message of Easter. No matter what the condition, no matter how desperate you feel, as long as you never give up, the miracle will occur. If only you renew your faith in the truth of who you are. The miracle will occur even if no one sees or recognizes it. Even if you don't recognize it, the miracle still happens. Just like no one seemed to recognize James until it was all over. It doesn't matter who sees it. It's your resurrection. It's your miracle. It's your life. The resurrection is for all our lives and for all the deaths in our lives, of our hearts, our aliveness, our hopes. In that moment, we rise above the world of the conditions and we truly become and awaken to recognizing our sonship and daughtership. The question is answered in Easter. Come, Spirit says, be renewed. Be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Be renewed in your faith and be reborn. Why seek the living among the dead? From the dawn of creation, we're the sons and daughters. From the moment of our conception, we're one in spirit. When we forget, Good Friday. But when we remember and renew our faith, Easter. Namaste, beloveds. Join me now, if you will. Thank you. Thank you, Ron. I know I screwed you up. Join me, if you will, in a prayer. I know that there is a divine source of all life, of all love, of all perfection. I know that it is within me. It is me. It is the reality of my being. It is the Christ, the God within. And as I know it's in me and it is me, I know that it is in and is all life. All life. I know that each of us is that God within. And I know that we awaken to it. And as we do, we come out of the tomb of our old beliefs, of our dead beliefs, and enter into the world of the living. We no longer seek to find ourselves in the dead, for we are alive. We rise in that faith and we become who we were born to be as we release and let go, as we trust completely and move into that complete abandon that Ernest Holmes talked about, that complete abandon to faith, that complete abandon to the divine within us. As we do, all things become clear, all things become perfect, whole, and complete, as Jimmy sang. I know this for each and all of us. And for that, I give thanks. I give thanks that this is the truth of our being. And this day we have been resurrected into it, for we remember who we are. I've spoken my word of love. It has manifested and unfolded through the law, And there's nothing more I need to do but to say, and so it is. Amen.
Every new sensation is a physical celebration. Peaceful meditation is a silent celebration. Celebrate unity, you and me. Celebrate life, celebrate love. Every day, every way. Being alive is a cause for celebration. So celebrate, celebration. Every situation is a chance for celebration. Even aggravation is a teaching celebration. Celebrate miracles, obstacles. Celebrate life, celebrate love. Every day, in every way. Being alive is a cause for celebration. So celebrate, celebration. Shake it down. Oh, yeah. Here it comes. Singing in congregation is a vocal celebration. Using imagination is a mental celebration. Celebrate family gratefully. Celebrate life, celebrate love. Every day, every way. Being alive is a cause for celebration. So celebrate, celebration. Life's a celebration. So celebrate. Life's a celebration. So celebrate. Life's a celebration, so celebrate.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Frank, for a beautiful, beautiful Easter Sunday talk. Appreciate it so very much. Also, that little bunny has got a wicked sense of rhythm. It's awesome. And thanks to Jimmy for the music and the visuals, and to Soulshine, Karen Wilkins and Steve Kendall, Delon Richenberg and Steve Johnson. Thank you so much for your music and your beauty and your gifts that you share with us so often, so willingly, and we're so grateful. Thank you for it. Thank you to each and every one of you who join us on Sundays and who support us through your love. And I also know that there is the support that takes place that is, we love the financial support because it helps us pay our bills, but also the support that where you share where it is that you attend on Sundays. And what happens is that other people join us because of you. And that's how this spiritual community was born and created almost 13 years ago now. So thank you for that. Spreading the word is the most powerful way to grow a spiritual community. So thank you for doing that for us as well. Thank you for those of you who participated in, oh, hello, Gabriel's gonna leave me now. Participated in the jars of affirmations and for sending in your donation. We're grateful for that. We will let you know in probably 2 weeks what our grand total was for that fundraiser. A reminder that we've been talking about this now, that practitioner Jan Lynch has written a book called The Divine Flow of Abundance, and she's going to be offering a workshop on the book for 2 Wednesday evenings from 6 to 7:30, Wednesday, May 12th and Wednesday, May 19th. The class is $40 for the 2 Wednesdays. The enrollment is limited, and so if you're interested in signing up for this class, do so as soon as possible. I understand there's already almost 10 people signed up, so you want to get your name in there, and the way you do that is that you just either by email, send an email and say you're interested in taking the class, you want to sign up for the class, 2 Awakening Ways, and your name will go on the list. That is the same way that you can get a hold of Jan's book, that you send an email to Awakening Ways and let Jan know that you need a book, and she will get a book to you. She can either, she can have the book for you, or she can mail the book to you. Arrangements can be made for you to get that book. So you want to move on this as quickly as possible, and you can send your class fee, either send a check into the office, or there was a flyer that came out yesterday. Check your emails there. It will come out again, but check your emails. You should have one already. And if you want to pay by PayPal, you can do it from that email or from our webpage as well. So that's coming up, and that'll be wonderful. And also this month we have 2 speakers coming. This is Timber Hawkeye's month. He comes every other month, and we're so grateful for that. He'll be here on April 18th, Sunday, April 18th. And Susan Jones will be our guest speaker on Sunday, April 25th. So Susan always has wonderful stories to share with us. And she's gone out of town again. So who knows what fabulous stories she will collect while she's gone, because that's the way life unfolds for Susan. So we're looking forward to all of what's going to be happening this month. Looking forward to seeing you again next week, and for us to do this again. Shall we do this again next week? Why not? Same place, same group, same energy, same love, because this is so, so beautiful. Thank you for being here. And if you will, join me in a closing benediction, and just allow your eyes to close. It's easy to just allow them to softly close and feel that softness and notice that sweetness in the darkness. It shuts out any visual distractions and allows us to just feel our inwardness, to feel that place and space that is within us. And so on this Easter Sunday, we rise in consciousness and we deepen in love as we move forward on this day of days. Move forward in our own growth, in our own resurrection, in our own letting go of what does not serve us any longer, of letting those things just pass away and pass on, allowing us to roll away any stones, any obstacles that are in our way to our complete fulfillment of life itself, in all of its joy, in all of its wonder. And so I know each and every one of us goes forth today filled with that light, filled with that joy, filled with that sense of being and coming from somehow a higher place today. Our minds are looking at things in a higher and greater way today, for we have risen and we are here to tell the story. And so I know that life continues to grow and evolve for all of us as we move along, as we experience this day, as we experience our lives in deep and deep gratitude. knowing that it is all so good, so beautiful, and so blessed. I let it be so, and so it is. Amen.